What's up, guys? I'm Tinashe Moyo, and welcome to another episode of Stride. On this channel, my goal is to inspire people to take the first step towards their goals in life using my personal experiences. And in this video, I will be taking you through my creative process, particularly in regards to how I create my thumbnail covers for my videos. So sit back and enjoy. Welcome back, people. And I am back. There you go again. Before I go any further, I just wanted to let you guys know that I recently lost my grandfather, my mother's father. That's correct, right? Yeah. He passed away on the 9th of June. And we were really close. So his passing like really hit home. And may God rest his soul. So I was initially planning on releasing this episode that same week, but of course, we had to attend the funeral. So I mean, yeah, things like these happen, and family comes first. So yeah, it is what it is. But I'm just glad to be back, to be honest. Still lacking consistency, but I know I will get there. A few tweaks, a few changes that I need to do when it comes to how I put things together. Sometimes life just happens, and there's just certain things that you can't do about it. But yeah, Stride is not dead. I'm not dead. Stride is never leaving soon. It's gonna be here forever. So let's enjoy it while we still can. We fall together and we get back up together. Now, here's another interesting thing. Before I go into the actual detail, I recently found out that my nephew is also a part of my subscribers. He actually came to me and he showed me his YouTube account that he had actually subscribed to my channel. And, it actually made me feel some type of way, because you're just like, oh, this is stuff for the older people. But then if someone like your nephew comes to you and says, oh, I'm actually subscribed to your channel, I was actually watching this episode. He actually watched the episode that I made about him becoming a better uncle. He calls it how to be a better uncle. But he actually told me that he watched it, he liked it, because I was actually asking him, like, is it actually making sense? He was like, yeah, it's making sense. I understood this, I understood that. So yeah, this is actually a warm welcome. Something is going on with my light. I don't know. Trying to mess up my mood. Can understand. And then last but not least, my health has been doing okay. I think it must be last month, I was kind of going through some stuff, a little bit of depression, but I feel better now. And I went for my usual high blood pressure review. And yeah, the doctors said everything is okay. So I'm still on my medication, but I had been struggling with, I think I was having sort of like breathing problems. Like it's called wheezing, where you produce a hissing sound when you breathe. It usually happens at night when either when I'm sleeping or when I'm about to sleep. Sometimes it's dust or you really don't know what it is. So the doctors just told me that it's probably allergies. So I got some antibiotics to try and take care of that. So yeah, I've been having issues with this thing for, I think, quite a long time. The past 2 years, I wasn't really having issues with that, but it recently came back for no apparent reason. So the wheezing thing is uncomfortable. It's not life threatening, but it's uncomfortable. I just don't enjoy it. But yeah, that's what it is. I'm just hoping that it doesn't take me to a point where I end up becoming the Weezer of Oz. Yeah, but I think that's just about it. Let's get into the actual detail. Alrighty, so let's get into the actual detail. This video has been a long time coming, but I guess I was complicating stuff for myself because I was busy thinking that are people going to enjoy like my creative process? Like is anyone going to care about these things? But then, I think overthinking hinders our progress a lot of the times in our lives. And I was just like, you know what? Just do the video. If it, you'll be surprised it can do well. But if it doesn't, we live and we learn. Yeah, it's like we move. It's sort of like my favorite thing to say with a good friend of mine called Glenn. So yeah, but anyways, I will talk about the first episode, like the cover. So episode 1 is how soccer changed my life. Now, this was the episode that started it all, and I felt like talking about the whole soccer thing was actually gonna do me justice. So when it comes to the cover, I'm sure you guys have seen like the recent covers and all of that. We'll get more into stuff like that. When you see the first cover, you can actually tell like I was still starting out. I was still kind of, learning the ropes when it comes to thumbnail covers. So it's a pretty simple cover. Like I'll get into a bit of the detail. I had to look for a free image of just an average football pitch that would at least resemble the kind of football pitches that we usually use for our games, just to resemble the pitch that I actually started off with. At least it's like close to home when you really look at it. I didn't want the state of the art stadiums like Old Trafford or Emirates or anything like that, because it wasn't going to like symbolize my story. Because I want my covers to at least speak to the stuff that I want to like talk about. So I had to go for that. And I think the headline, like the text that I had to use, it's something where you're just like, okay, let me find a good position to just put the text. I wasn't really going for a killer or anything like that. I just wanted people to see the actual message that's on the cover. Now, when it comes to my pose, the image that I used, it's like many people actually laugh at the pose that I had. But I always had this thing where I wanted to do sort of like a shoot where I have that, that face, that mean mug. Because I mean, for me, it's like, it kind of seems like I actually checked my bucket list, because I was just like, yeah, I want to do something where I'm just dead serious. It's kind of like you want to kill someone, but then it's pretty much for a story about soccer. But in my mind, I was just telling myself that it's sort of like a representation of the focus that I had to put into my training, into how I was gonna play the whole soccer thing. Because I mean, before I even started playing soccer, I was just like, man, this seems really, really tough. I don't think this is something I can ever do in my life. But then I had to be serious, I had to be disciplined. So that pose was just a representation of focus and discipline. Now, the way that I took that photo, this was actually a selfie. And then I had to hold my phone because I was using the phone light to at least light up one side of my face. Like if you can see the image, the actual image, you can see that my right shoulder is crooked, is not on the same level as my left shoulder because I had to hold my phone in a way that I could light up the right, like the right place on the right side of my face. I don't know if that's good English, but I'm sure you get what I mean. So I had a phone light and then I had a ring light on my desk, just a small ring light, at least to like amplify the the light that you actually see on, on the photo. Of course, you get to do some editing to really get the right contrast, the vibrance, the saturation. So the way that I just did this cover, as you can now see the behind the scenes of it, when you see it, it's simple, but then there's a lot of work that's put into all of that to make the magic happen. So when I look at it from a critical perspective, my my the other side of me, I would actually say, nah, this is far from the stuff that I can do. But with an open mind, I can actually say it actually served its purpose. It's pretty simple. It's pretty cool. It worked. Without it, I don't think people would even have the audacity to like watch the video. So overall, it's a simple and a good concept. Episode 4: How God Made Me a Living Testimony. Now, this is one of my favorites, quite interesting. I wanted a very simple approach, something that could depict the dark times that I went through, because this was prior to the time that I went to see the doctors, where I got the blood tests and results that everything was fine in my body. So before that time, I was just in a dark space. So I wanted, to symbolize that. So I just had to go for a simple, solid, black, background. And then for the headline, I just wanted to make it prominent, especially the words living testimony, so that people can actually try and get the message of like, okay, things related to testimonies, normally it starts from a dark space into a lighter space. So it's contrasting in a way. You've got a black background and then you've got a white headline, It's kind of like you're moving from the dark spaces to the lighter spaces. And for, the image, this one wasn't an image that I took myself. It wasn't a selfie with the camera. This was actually from a photo shoot that I did with my really good friend called Sydney Chakeja. We were just playing around with the camera outside, and we had to go to, there's this church that is close by, and then I just had to stand in front of the metallic material. I'm forgetting the name, but the maroon stuff. Yeah. So I had to like stand in front of that. So this wasn't a pose that I was actually told to do. I just thought I could just try it out and just do it, just to see if the picture would come out good. and it actually did. So I had to like go through a lot of the images that we took, and then when I came across that, I mean, I actually thought that it was a decent image that could definitely go well with the cover that I wanted to create, because it has a serious tone. And so I was just like, yeah, let me just use that image. And I decided not to put it in color, just to make it black and white, so that at least, you know, if if I had put color on the image, there was gonna be a representation of okay, there's sort of like happiness, but I just wanted to put more of the dark times into it more than anything else. So it was a pretty simple concept for me. I really enjoyed making that. So, you know, there wasn't much into it. Of course, you just have to cut out the image from the background, but at least the background was solid enough for me to simply cut it out in Photoshop and just edit it a bit, just to give it a bit of detail. So that's one project that I also like really enjoyed. And then for the headline, I just had to put a little bit of texture to it to also, you know, symbolize the grit. Like when you're in dark times, you really fight, you know. So yeah, pretty simple concept. I enjoyed it. Episode 6, Victoria Falls Family Trip. Now, this is the cover that changed the game when it comes to how I design my thumbnail covers. So before I even recorded the episode, I just had an idea. Like I wanted to try this thing where you include like many people on one cover. So I took inspiration from Star Wars movie posters. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So particularly Star Wars The Force Awakens. And then I also took some inspiration from the June movie poster that also incorporates many people. So, you know, I, you know, I think the images that I used, I shouldn't say I think, actually, the most of the images that I used were images that I actually took in Victoria Falls from my sisters, my mother, my dad. Those were images that I took in Victoria Falls. And my image was an image that I took here at home because, you know, the bad thing about being a cameraman, no one is going to take a really good picture of yourself. So it's either you're doing selfies like I usually do when I'm designing these covers. So I actually had to go on, I think, just against the walls in my room. Since they are white, that means I've got a solid excuse me, I've got a solid background that I can just stand against. And so I just had to use the natural light from my windows, at least to give it a bit of decent lighting. And then I had to wear the clothes that I actually wore in Vic Falls, at Vic Falls, whatever English you want to use, on that particular day that I took the images of my sisters, my mom and my dad. And then I just had to put the sunglasses on to make, you know, to make it all interesting. So in terms of hierarchy, of course, the story is more about myself. So I have to be the main guy. It is just like in Star Wars, like the leading character. If it's Luke Skywalker, then Skywalker has to be like the bigger character on the poster. So I had to make myself the bigger character. And then hierarchy wise, you've got my dad, you've got my mom, and then you have my sisters. The images were a bit of a challenge when it came to cropping them out, particularly my dad's image, because the quality was a little bit different from the ones that I took of my mom and my sisters, because I was a little bit close to them compared to my dad. So it was a bit challenging, but I made it work. Again, excuse me. I made it work, had to put some shadows in between my sisters, my mother, my dad, just so the images could actually pop out more. And then I had to include like the orange color, or like the solid orange color. I don't know why I'm going too fast. Let me try and slow it down. The orange solid color, just to represent vibrance, fun, and also the sun. Because a place like Victoria Falls is, is usually hot. So at least orange could, in a way, represent the sun. And then I just had to tuck in a picture of the falls, the Victoria Falls. At least it gives it a full representation of the place that we went to. The headline in itself is it's pretty simple. I just enjoy making things look different, a little bit unique, just tweaking things around. But overall, I really enjoyed working on this cover. It came out really, really well. And every time I look at that cover, it gives me so much confidence. Like, yes, I think I really skyrocketed. Did I pronounce it right? Skyrocketed. When it came to my design work, I actually felt like I really got to another different level. So overall, yeah, that was an interesting project for me. I really liked it. And I hope you guys liked it too, as much as I liked it. Episode 7, From Best Friend to Best Man. Now, this is also another favorite cover of mine. Excuse me. So yeah, again, I also played with character hierarchy, just like what I did in the a previous thumbnail. So I had to, of course, the headline in itself has the words best man more prominent than any other text that's there. So obviously, the best man has to be prominent. So I made myself prominent, more like making myself look Skywalker. Initially, right, I wanted to capture wedding vibes because there's the tagline, embracing the new chapter. So who is part of the new chapter? Obviously, Paddington and his wife, Daryl. So I had to also incorporate those because it wasn't going to make sense if it was just an image of myself. Yeah, of course, sometimes we like glory hunting so much, but it's also good to, incorporate the ones that made you the best man. So I had to incorporate that. Cutting out the pictures was also a challenge in this instance because they were not taken on a solid background. These pictures were actually taken like in front of like the garden, the place that we were in. So you have to like make sure that you're tracing out the edges and everything just to make sure you get the right cut out. So even though it was a challenge, I made sure that I really did justice on them. Now, I wanted to incorporate a garden in the background, like to really symbolize the whole wedding vibe. But then the pictures that I got, particularly from the internet, were not really cutting it, because I wanted to kind of like make things in a way. I think if you've seen the movie poster for my big fat Greek wedding, they've got a cool background, sort of like a garden, that makes like the subjects pop out even more. So that's what I wanted for the cover, but then it wasn't really working out. So I had to just stick to something simple like the white. It obviously symbolizes the whole wedding vibe. So I just had to add sort of like a grungy texture in the back, just to make the background pop and to also allow the images of the models or human beings to really stand out. So obviously for, I think, sort of like space, I also had to add like shadows between, I think, in between the images so that they don't look like they were just stuck together. So yeah, this was pretty interesting for me. I really enjoyed working on that project. Quite simple, interesting. And yeah, I guess this was actually one of the videos that did pretty well. I'm not saying all these other videos haven't been doing okay. They've been doing okay in their respective rights. But, I guess sometimes when you just go for the simple things, it actually makes things work for you. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I also hope you enjoyed it too. Episode 10, Grateful Steps, The Journey So Far. This is another interesting cover. Man, I'm distracted. I think there's a church happening and the music is really loud. So I'm just trying to focus here. But yeah, episode 10. This is also another favorite of mine. So I took inspiration from like the Oscars and also some posters from Manchester United, particularly when they are celebrating the player of the season, like the club player of the season. They usually use black and gold. So for episode 10, I wanted to create sort of like a milestone type of thing. So you usually go with black and gold if you're celebrating something like a milestone. So that's the direction that I decided to go for. So it was pretty interesting. Like first and foremost, the image shoot. That was a selfie. I shot the image myself. I had to do a couple of takes just to make sure I got the right pose. So I just had to back myself sort of like in a corner in my room and, just work on the lighting, particularly the flash, because the lights were actually switched off again in my room. Because since you're working with black and gold, you don't really need much light. Some of the light you can actually fix it in post, like Photoshop. So that's exactly what I did, especially cutting out. I was more like a visionary when I modernized this room, making the background white and all of it, because I knew the stuff that I wanted to do. So it was pretty much sort of like a photo studio in a way. So it's been really helpful when it comes to me shooting images of myself. So there's sort of like a texture in the background. Some might just think like, oh, this is just something to add depth, but it's actually the number 10 to symbolize 10 episodes, because I actually wanted to celebrate 10 episodes in a different way, considering the fact that I had started off in September 2023, right up until, December, because sometimes it's easy to just start and stop maybe 2 episodes deep. So it was sort of like a celebration of 10. I don't really know if 10 has a symbol. I'm sure it has a symbolic meaning, but I didn't research about it. So yeah, but I just chose to have fun with it. And when I designed the cover, I had motion in mind. Like I really wanted to make things move. I really wanted it to look cool, and I had so much fun, like so much fun, adding movement to that cover. And yeah, these are like some of the things we can always consider when we are like doing our work. Like you consider the end product of how you want the stuff to look, because sometimes people might just want to be like, oh, can we do this, can we do that? Sometimes it won't work because you didn't really have all of those things in mind. So that's basically how I approached this thumbnail cover. So it made things fun for me, and I really enjoyed it. Like even the headline itself, Grateful Steps, it was just something more in the abstract scene. And yeah, it came out really, really well. So pretty happy with it. Episode 14, Sticky Fingers. Now, this is an absolute killer, my friends. I enjoyed, like really, 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 really enjoyed working on this cover. Because I mean, man, when you just look at it, it is just different. My approach to it was really interesting. So I took inspiration from so many movie posters and series movie posters, criminal based, of course, because they've got this dark tone and maybe a little bit of horror in it, because it's Sticky Fingers is a horror story, to be honest with you guys. So that's the kind of approach I took, because whenever I want to design something, or when I'm in the process, I'm usually on Pinterest. I'm just scrolling, just looking at so many different covers. And it really helps. You can actually do sort of like a mashup of all the different covers that you see. So it makes things really interesting. So when I did this, I switched off the lights in my room. Now, on my curtains, right, there's a small space that actually allows light into it. So I felt like that small amount of light was actually messing up the whole scene. Like I wanted the room to be really, really dark. Like I had to switch off my monitor. I had to close my laptop so that it's really, really dark. And then I had to use the small ring light that I have. When I first bought it, I actually thought it was a waste of money. Like, what good is it gonna do? Because I initially wanted to use it when I'm sitting below the light in my room, when I'm facing the camera, so that I could actually put it close to myself. But then it didn't really work for that. I guess it was going to serve its purpose when it comes to photo shoots. So I had to go that route. And then I had to be really, really close to the light and also close to the camera, because I wasn't using a zoom lens, because in my room, it won't be able to pick up anything, especially when it comes to my face. So I had to be really close to the camera to get the kind of pose that I needed. And I took different images, different poses, because I was just like, what, when I was planning, when I was thinking, I didn't really like the final pose that I used wasn't the pose that I had in mind. I think I had a different pose. I didn't really have a pose in mind. Actually, I was just like, I'll see what I can do when I'm doing the shoot. So I was just taking random photos of myself just to see the one that worked. And then as you are in the process, that's when ideas start to come up. So that's why, there's this thing called stride. Like the first step will definitely open different possibilities. So I ended up getting the pose that I wanted. And when I was now editing, obviously, you don't really get a completely dark image because the walls are white. So on the image that I took, you could actually see some small parts like with light. So that's the good thing about doing things in post. You then have to like create sort of like there's a term that's usually used for black, yeah, whatever. But so I had to like add some black whatever material on the canvas. I don't know why I'm forgetting things now, but yeah, it doesn't matter. We move. So yeah, I just had to just use a paintbrush to add some darkness on the canvas, just to give the poster more of a dark scene. And interestingly enough, as it was with just me, the font that I used, I really like the font that I used, just to create that tense look, that tense atmosphere. Like I said, I was also looking at horror movie posters, the horror story. So, it actually helped create that scene. So it was going to end just like that, with just my face, that mean mug, and the text and everything. And that's that was going to be it. The jail bars was actually a last minute addition, because when I was just looking at it, I was just like, okay, let me see if there's something else that I can try. So I initially tried a fence. The fence wasn't really working out, like it was closing my whole image. And then I just had to look for jail bars on freepick.com. And when I inserted the jail bars on the image, it changed. They changed literally everything. And then I was just like, yes, the cover is done. So I just had to work on them a little bit, just adding a bit of shadow between the jail bars and myself to create some space, working on some contrast, lighting, like darkening the jail bars a little bit, because initially they were, I think, super gray. So you want them to be a little bit dirty to actually symbolize the whole jail scene. Now, the initial idea that I had, because the final one wasn't the initial idea that I had. The initial one was going to be me wearing sort of like an overall to symbolize like the jail clothes, right? And then I was going to stand against a wall that has the, what do you call it? The height, whatever. Yeah, that that thing. And then I was probably gonna get a card, right, that maybe has my name or the title of the episode where I just hold it. So it's sort of like a mug shot, right? But then I couldn't get the clothes done on time. So I was just like, okay, I have to find another option. But that was the initial option that I wanted. Like, yo, I just want to go in a different space. But still, the one that I used is actually, I think, a huge favorite of mine. So I really enjoyed creating that cover. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone. So yeah, if If you liked it, good, because I did. Episode 15, Becoming a Better Uncle. Now, this was a simple one to do. My nephew's favorite episode. So I was pretty much inspired by, you know, I think kids series, kids movies, and WWE as well. Particularly, I think there was a show, sort of like a B show or a C show that was called WWE Main Event. It just had this light-hearted tone. So I just wanted that kind of approach for my cover. So I took the image myself again. To be honest with you guys, it's difficult to take images of yourself because you have to work on the focus. When I'm taking images, I don't work with autofocus for photographers who understand. But for those of you that don't really understand what autofocus is, this is where you just place your camera. You just stand in front of the camera and then it has to like zone in and make sure you're in focus. So these are some of the things that I encounter when I'm doing episodes. But then I prefer using manual because manual gives you like all the kind of freedom that you need. So I have to change the focus. I have to go in front of the camera. I have to do the self timer. I have to go back to it. So it's like a back and forth type of thing until I see myself in focus. So sometimes you might actually do 10, 15 minutes just back and forth, making sure that I'm in focus. So, that was the hustle. And then the interesting thing was I was holding a chocolate, right? Just to symbolize trying to be better for my nephew with the chocolate. Like you're trying to, serenade him with the chocolate. Like, hey, is this gonna make you forgive me for all the things that I've done? So that was simply the message I was trying to portray with the chocolate. Now, the story behind the chocolate, this was a chocolate that my older sister bought for me. She brought the chocolate from the UK. So I kept it particularly for that for that shoot. So it was, I think this thing was pretty simple. And now for the model, right, for my pose, I had to first generate an image using AI just to see the kind of expressions that I could use. Because one of the things that I really pay attention to is facial expressions. Like I really take those things seriously. They can actually make people understand what you're actually trying to portray. So I got this image on, I think it was Free Pick, because I tried using Microsoft Bing image creator, but I didn't really get the desired result. So I ended up going on Free Pick, just generating the image that I needed. And so sometimes I actually generate images, right? And then I just create a draft cover using that image just to see where I can place the headlines, where I can place all these other details. And it's really, really, helpful. Like if you can use AI the right way, you can actually go far, especially when it comes to your workflow. It can really, really help. So it really helped me come up with a decent pose and, the expressions as well. So it was quite a simple cover, but something that I really enjoyed, something that really worked for, what I wanted to do. So I'm happy with that cover too.